We're going to do an in-class demo on thinking and problem solving, and this has to do with the idea of feeling of knowing. So maybe you don't know something, but do we actually have a mechanism in our minds that will allow us to know that we're close to a solution, even if we don't really know what the actual solution is? So it's almost like that tip of the tongue phenomenon when you can't think of a word, but you know the word. It's just not coming to you. We're going to see research done on feeling of knowing. All right, so we're going to do our in-class demonstration. So for this, we're going to need to get back into groups. So if we want, if you can, get into groups of 2 and 3. And I will hand out the in-class demo handout here. And we'll go over exactly what we need to do in order to do this. So for the in-class demonstration, you're going to be asked to solve a riddle, and you're going to try to solve the following riddle. I'll go over it in just a moment. And during your solution of this, you're going to get 10 minutes to do your best to try to solve this, but you're going to hear a click every 30 seconds. So every 30 seconds, you'll hear this sound. And when you hear that click, what I'd like you to do is rate how close you are as a group to solving that problem. So if you look on the first page, that's where the riddle is. If you look on the second page, that's where your ratings will go. So what you can do right now is you can circle next to the time of 0 minutes and 0 seconds. You as a group can circle 0, because right now you don't even know what the riddle is. So you are at 0, which is no idea what the solution is. When you have solved the problem, your scale will be at 10. So when you solve the problem, that's when you circle 10. And then in between those two periods, if you want to join any one of the groups, and I'll give you a handout here. So in between those two periods, depending upon how close you feel to actually getting the solution, circle anywhere between 1 to 9, right? So if the click occurs and you as a group are still thinking to yourself, we really have made no progress, maybe circle a 1, circle a 2 if you think you made very minor progress, not a lot. If you think you're almost there, like just a little bit more, we've almost got it figured out, we've almost got the whole thing done, circle 7, 8, or 9. Basically indicate using that scale how close you think you are to solving the problem. And then when you actually circle that 10, if you could also circle the time associated with it so that we know when you actually solve the problem. So if you solved it at 6 minutes and 30 seconds, circle the 10 at 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and then also, just for ease of data collection, circle that 6 minutes and 30 seconds as well. So do this as a group. Try to solve the riddle as best you can, and then when you hear that click every 30 seconds, just as a group come to a decision of how close you think you are, and circle that on your timesheet. To make things a little bit easier, you can rip the thing in two so that you have a copy of the Sage's Hat problem sitting there with you. And I'll go over the riddle right now. So the Sage's Hat, the 3 wisest sages in the land were brought before the king to see which of them were worthy to become the king's advisor. So you're one of those sages. After passing many tests of cunning and invention, they were pitted against each other in a final battle of the wits. Led blindfolded into a small room, the sages were seated around a small wooden table as the king described the test for them. The king said, "Upon each of your heads I have placed a hat. Now you are either wearing a blue hat or a white hat. All I will tell you is this: at least one of you is wearing a blue hat. There may be only 1 blue hat and 2 white hats. There may be 2 blue hats and 1 white hat, or there may be 3 blue hats, but you may be certain that there are not 3 white hats. I will shortly remove your blindfolds and the test will begin. The first who correctly announce the color of his hat shall be my advisor. Be warned, however, he who guesses wrongly shall be beheaded." So you may want to make sure that you got the right answer. If not one of you answers within the hour, you will be sent home, and I will seek elsewhere for wisdom. So with that, the king uncovered the sage's eyes and sat in the corner and waited. One sage, that's you, looked around and saw that his competitors each were wearing blue hats. For what seemed like hours, no one spoke. Finally, he stood up and said, "The color of the hat I am wearing is," and you need to figure out, is it a blue hat or is it a white hat? And you also, for a correct solution, need to give a reason why. So again, this is a situation. These are your competitors. You go around a table, you sit down, you get blindfolded. Blindfold comes off. You see two blue hats, and now you need to figure out that the color of the hat that you are wearing is, and we begin. All right, so for some reason the clicks aren't working. So click, 30 seconds. How close do you think you are to a solution? Click. 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 Click.
That was a great, yeah, it was great. Yeah. So he uncovered all of their eyes, scientifically. One stage looked around and saw that his competitor. But if you're in blindfold, can you just see what's happening around? No, because it's.
Click.
Maybe.
Click. 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 Click.
See, that's why I was wondering, like, is he the one that stood up? Because I always
Click.
I think it's the see, yes. I'm trying to be logical. I'm trying to put logic.
Click.
And even if there were, we still wouldn't know what color. Yeah, but we know he looks in the mirror, but we don't know what he's.
Click.
No. I don't think so. If they did, I would love.
And click. That is it. All right. So at this point, the time is over. So if you have an idea, if you want to take a guess, write down your solution. And remember that the solution also has to come with an explanation. So you can't just guess one or the other and say, because it's got to be one of the two. For a correct solution, it has to come with an explanation as well. I won't leave you in suspense. The answer to this is that this sage over here was wearing a blue hat.
Yeah.
So the hat is a blue hat.
You have reasoning.
And the reason for that is basically the key piece there is for what seems like hours. For when it says in the riddle, it goes, oh, for what seems like hours, nobody spoke. For what seems like hours, nobody spoke. And that can only happen in one instance, and that instance happens when this individual is wearing a blue hat. And the way to kind of reason this through, or one way to reason this through, is to think about what does this sage over here see? So if you're wearing a white hat, they see one blue hat over here, and they see one white hat, right? So if this sage sees one blue hat and one white hat, then there's a question, what hat are they wearing? If they're wearing a white hat, then they are in a situation where you'll have a white hat, they'll have a white hat, and this person will be the only blue hat, and they would immediately say, oh my gosh, I'm the only one with a blue hat because the king said, no 3 white hats. So if you were wearing a white hat, this sage would be able to almost immediately answer, you know, there's a blue, there's a white. If I'm wearing a white, he's going to be a blue. So that he has a blue hat. The fact that neither of these two sages are answering means that they have the longest go around, which is like if you're wearing a blue hat. So that is the most difficult one to solve. That's the only option that's left if nobody has spoken for a certain amount of time. So that is the one way of solving this. The color of the hat that you're wearing is a blue hat. So that was the riddle, but more important than did you get it right is were you correct in how you felt about whether you were doing it correctly. So for those of you that answered blue hat and got the correct explanation, does your feeling of knowing indicate that you were getting closer to the correct answer? For those of you that didn't get the right answer or weren't able to complete it, what does your feeling of knowing indicate that you were, nowhere near completing the answer? That's the true interesting portion of this. Whether or not, especially if you got to the correct answer, even if you weren't consciously sure that you were at the correct answer, or you were getting close to the correct answer, is there some sort of subconscious, unaware mechanism in your brain that is working, or in your mind that's working on this problem, that gives you this feeling like you're getting close to solving the problem. That gives you this feeling of knowing, which is what it's called, that you're actually getting to the solution.